Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Dan Tatton. I am CEO and co-founder of Seven Movements here with our Chief Movement Officer, John Sinclair, for another edition of Coach's Corner. Welcome, John.
Thanks, buddy. Good to have you.
Yeah, excited to be here. Excited to answer some questions today. We got a whole slew of questions this week. Oh, I gotta just turn this off quick here, John. I got us streaming 20 seconds in the future playing in my ear, but it's off now. So we got a ton of questions come in. A lot of them had to do with like, hey, how do we get started? So what we're actually going to do today is we're going to kind of go through Eat, Think, Move, Recover, like we do in our wellness plan. And you're going to give your kind of top tips of one thing people could do, or the one thing that you might recommend they do, and I'll do the same. So let's just jump right into it, and let's go right into like the think bucket. So someone's mental well-being, they're starting to think about like, hey, I want to, start getting some positive vibes going here. I want to start getting some positive thoughts. What's like one thing that they can do to get started?
First thing is to write down one thing that they would enjoy doing today.
I like that. A little bit of journaling.
Little journal. Journaling works so well, but it's the fact that you are transferring a thought to paper, reading it in your own handwriting, right? And then that will stay with you. So if you pick one thing that you really want to do today that is going to be enjoyable, then write that down on a piece of paper or on a whiteboard or anything that you can see and keep present on a Post-it note and stick it on the mirror, whatever works for you. That's one of the most perfect things you could do in terms of transferring your good feelings or good thinking into action.
I love that. It's part of the reason why we get people to write down their wellness plan as we're kind of going through that when they're building it out. So that I love that piece of advice. One I've been thinking about a lot this week myself. Someone asked me the other day, like, what's one thing that you could do to improve my mental health, like immediately? I'm like, delete your Instagram app. Delete it. Get rid of it. Because I've seen so many of my clients and so many of my business clients, my health clients, all suffering because they're spending time on that app. And I haven't yet had someone explain to me in a way that makes sense how it's actually serving their well-being. Maybe someone out there can do it who's listening to this show and they're a big Instagram person and love what it brings to them. I just love it. But I just see it bringing a ton of comparison, fear of missing out, just self-sabotage stuff. I'm not doing things right. Why can't I do it like they're doing it? So when someone says to me now, what's like one quick thing I could do? Maybe you don't delete the app, but turn it off and don't spend too much time on it.
Yep, that's a good one.
So that's my think. So let's move right into the eat bucket. Now, neither of us are dietitians. We've got dietitians through 7 Days Healthy on the collective. But we're both eaters, and we're both Saskatchewan boys who eat a lot. So let's give the folks, what's one thing that you can do to start eating healthier?
Well, the one I always give, it's going to be boring, but the one I always give is eat more fruits and vegetables. Because if you eat more fruits and vegetables, everything else will fall in line.
Right. Any tips of how to do that? Like how to integrate that? How do you integrate that more fruits and vegetables, or you just do it?
What I have a hard time eating more fruits and vegetables is probably why I also give that advice, because it's good advice to give and good advice for me to do. But the one thing that I do is I put them in a shake in the morning.
Oh, I like that.
Right. So I put lots of fruit, lots of greens in one shake in the morning. And then at least I know I've started the day out right. And I've got a whole bunch of that already set to go in my day.
That's brilliant. I have an amazing wife that leaves me out a fruit cup of fresh fruit every morning. So that really helps me get my fruits in anyways. No, I love that one. Mine might be one of the big pieces of advice that I got, and when I started to really like deploy this, it worked for me, was keep eating what you're eating, just eat less, especially if you're a big eater like me. One thing that I noticed is I don't know how you grew up, John. I grew up with a baba. So when stuff ended up on your plate, you ate it. Like you didn't leave bits on your plate because you were full. You just kept eating. And then if she put more stuff on your plate, you ate that too, without question. So I grew up, always cleaning my plate and always eating everything that was there. And then you go out to a restaurant and that's burnt into me. It's like, I finished this. So now I just try to still enjoy all the things that I enjoy, but less of them. And it's been a very effective strategy for me to drop weight and just feel better about eating. So
I know you said we're not dietitians, but we are nutrition coaches, and coaching habits around eating is probably the most important thing, right?
It's the most long-term effective thing you can do, for sure.
There's lots of things that we can do. I like, everyone always talks about their portion control. One that I think is highly effective is after every bite you take, put your fork down, and you can't pick your fork back up until you finish chewing. Because it'll force you to chew more, but also force you to eat slower, which means you're not going to be able to get as much food in your
less
gullet.
shovel effect. Yeah. I like that one a lot. No, that's great advice. I might start trying. I'm going to try that over the next week, and next coach's corner, I'll tell you where I'm at with it. So I've been liking these tricks to slow me down eating and not eating as much, rather than focusing on trying to have like a perfect diet. It's just like, hey, well, how can I just keep eating good? Because I eat like 80% pretty good, but just less.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we're 7 movements. So let's get into the move bucket here. What's one thing that people can start doing to get a little bit more movement or start moving better?
The biggest one is finding the exercise that you enjoy doing, and then connecting it to the environment that you like. So let's say that you enjoy, riding a bike, right? And you need to get away and get out of the house. Well, having a bicycle that you could ride around would be a great way to incorporate exercise into your day, but also giving you that mental break also, right? So if you enjoy cycling, look at maybe getting in on your bike and doing that a little bit more frequently. Same can be said for walking. So it's now we've connected the habit of doing the exercise you really enjoy with getting away from your daily environment, which will definitely help keep you motivated and help keep you wanting to move a little bit more.
Yeah, I love that one. I love the idea of, because a lot of time we build exercise programs, right? And people have this idea like, I'm going to exercise so I can be fit or be healthy, rather than finding something they enjoy that involves that behavior already. And then if you want to build some sort of structured exercise program, we have something to sort of work with. So we can make you move better in the activities that you actually enjoy doing. So I really enjoy that one. That's actually really excellent starting off advice, isn't it?
If I could give you maybe a bad piece of advice,
yeah,
or something not to do, maybe is better.
I like that.
Is if you hate cycling, don't go to a spin class.
There you
or
go.
Don't buy Peloton. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a million things you can do for exercise. Only invest in like a stationary bike if you absolutely love cycling. Otherwise, it's just going to be an expensive laundry hanger.
Yep. Yeah. It's funny you bring that up. Just yesterday, I was speaking with somebody who bought, the heck was it? It was either Mirror or one of the workout, like it's kind of group class workouts that you can do in front of a screen, right? And she's like, I hate this group exercise. Like, I hate it. And and I was like, well, okay, so why did you? There's other ways you can get exercise. It just didn't even register. It was like, no, I need to get fit, so I get this thing and I have to participate, and the fact that I hate it really doesn't matter. So we had to go in a whole thing and go through actually our wellness plan builder and kind of discover some of the activities that she actually enjoyed doing, one of which is kayaking. So we're kind of working with that a little bit to kind of see if maybe that's a better investment than a $2,500 screen. I don't know. So yeah, awesome advice. For me, the move one, I always start with walking. I don't think people walk enough, or try and find ways to fit like active mobility into their day. Instead of maybe driving a block, you walk a block, or you park further away from the store and you actually do the extra 100 or 200 steps. It doesn't seem like much, but when you do it, 5 times a week, 2 or 3 times a day, and all of a sudden all that activity really adds up.
Does. I've noticed a big change since in COVID times that I don't leave my house as much. So I'm actually getting in as many steps. However, I am losing my short-term memory. So I walk back and forth from the garage to the house a whole bunch of times because I keep forgetting what it was I was supposed to grab. So there's benefits to losing your short-term memory, I guess.
The cognitive decline is actually having an improvement in your fitness.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Awesome. Okay. So let's talk about the last bucket, recovery. This is the one that gets ignored by almost everybody that I know and work with. So that's what's one thing that someone can do to improve their recovery bucket.
Go to sleep earlier. You cannot out recover the effect that sleep has on your health.
Right.
You think about it, 1/3 of our entire lives we spend sleeping, right? If you sleep 8 hours a day, that's 1/3 of a 24-hour day, right? So you should be focused on setting up a schedule that will allow you to get to sleep at a reasonable time so that you are optimizing the opportunity for sleeping at least 8 hours of sleep. Some people can function around 7, but the golden medal, I think, for sleep is 8 or more hours of sleep.
Yeah, I like that. And what would you say because you said earlier, but really the key is the 8-hour piece. Like if you're someone who works shift work or something, you're going to have challenges getting to bed at the same time all the time. But as long as you get those 8 hours.
I mean, the 8 hours are important. Shift workers, I mean, they're playing Russian roulette.
Right.
those poor people. My mom and mother-in-law are nurses. So, they are valiant human beings and the true heroes of this world to do the work that they do on lack of sleep and going through shift works and stuff. It's not a healthy way to experience going through this life. So shift work is like not an easy thing to do. But there is something to say about your day and night cycle. Right. So if you were going to bed at like 2 a.m. every night, but waking up at, what is that? Like 10 a.m. the next day, that's also not very healthy for you because the amount of time you're spend in the waking hours are now playing with your circadian rhythm. So the goal is to try to get you to bed usually around in between, 10:30 and midnight. And then waking up the 8 hours wherever you fell asleep before that. But the trick to falling asleep at 10:30 is to start winding down at 8 o'clock.
Right.
So you start building a system, a set of things that you do consistently that make it so that by the time your head hits the pillow, you're like out. Right.
Yeah.
So maybe getting the lights at 8 or switching from white lights to candlelight, maybe having some aromatherapy going around the house, making your temperature cooler in your house because you sleep better when it's cooler, taking a hot shower and then getting into a really cold room. Like those are really good ways that just kind of knock you out and make it easier for you to fall asleep.
Yeah, I like that. And you actually stole my sleep one. I was going to use sleep as well, so maybe I'll add on to your sleep habits. One big one that made a difference for me is the phone. Again, going back to the phone and putting it down at probably by 8 o'clock and most evenings. And I'll still watch some TV, especially if there's a hockey game on, of course, or something. But I notice a difference between that and if I have my phone out and scrolling or whatever it is we're doing with our telephone. So just another piece of that recovery puzzle. But sleep's like the big thing, right?
It's the most important thing. There's nothing that you could do better if you're just for health or you're into performance. There's nothing you can do with any device that is going to be more beneficial than getting more sleep. Period.
Yeah.
Story. Like our good friend at Institute of Motion, Brandon Marcello, he's got a PhD in nutrition and recovery. And so his area of expertise is recovery and nutrition. Big truck driving by. Watch, it's going to park right in front of my place.
I can hear him.
Somebody's relocating, I think. And so what he says for all our folks, and when we're educating at the Institute of Motion, is he says like recovery and sleep is like pre-covery, right? So you need good nutrition and you need a good high quality amount of sleep before you can even address training and before you can even address recovery from training. So like it's non-negotiable. You have to do it. And there's so much research out now about the positive effects on performance and long-term health with sleep and getting a regular amount of sleep over 8 hours. So
interesting. I love that. Okay. That covers those questions. I got one microdosing question for you that came in particular. And basically the question was, if John was to prescribe me a program to start microdosing movement throughout the day, what would be the place that I start, and what would be like the optimal way of doing this?
Yeah, it depends on the individual. Generally speaking, let's just say you're someone who's moderately sedentary, you've exercised in the past, and you're looking to add more smaller bouts of exercise throughout your day. Then I would start with what we normally do for most people, and that's let's go 7 minutes at a time. Right. And then you're gonna try to do it on the hour, every hour, and see how many in a row you can do, and then develop a streak for that day. Right. So the goal would be, if you got an 8-hour day at work, you're going to try to get to 8. Right. You're going to try to hit 8 streaks. If you hit 8, that's like the 7 movements hat trick. You know,
that'd be a big deal. If you could do a 7-minute dose every hour for those 8 hours, that'd be wildly, you'd have a wild effect on your health.
Absolutely. So, because if you think about it, you've now just accumulated 56 minutes of movement into your daily strategy. And it doesn't have to be the same thing that you do all the time, right?
That's right.
So it could be, at 10 a.m., I'm going to walk up and down the stairs for 7 minutes. At 11 a.m., I'm going to do squats in front of my desk. At 12, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't always have to be the same thing. Or it could be, I'm going to do 7 different exercises in 1 minute at a time.
Right.
So the cool part about it is there's infinite combinations of things that we could do. So you're not getting bored with it and doing the same routine. But as long as it becomes cyclical, where it's something that's repetitive and cyclical, you will change your metabolic processes in the body, which helps with insulin control, which helps with cognitive outcomes as a result of it. Obviously aerobic fitness. So as long as you're doing something that it can be repeated and has kind of a cyclical effect to it, all exercise is cardiovascular exercise. So that's the cool part about it. It doesn't take much to do it. Doesn't take a lot of effort. It just takes, the readiness and the willingness to want to build that habit. And so, if you can get 8 in a day, that's fantastic. Now try 1.
Right.
Then try 2, right? So, and then turn it into a game for yourself. Build a streak with it. I like to have my clients keep a dice on their desk, right? And the dice represents how many movements how many 7 movement microdoses they've done, right? And then by the end, you've got 6. Well, if I've got 6, I might as well do 8, right?
That's right.
And then see how many days you can get to 8 again, right? So you do a 10-day streak of 8 of them. You've done 80 in 10 days. That's fantastic, right?
Yeah, you're knocking it out of the park at that point. Yeah. So yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Like, that's a consistency piece. everything that we talk about at Seven Movements. So great.
Let's
great
flip it on its head. What are the chances that you might be able to build a streak of 8 straight days of going 1 hour every day and exercising, right? Probably pretty not possible.
Yeah.
For most people's schedule, I doubt they're going to get, 8 hours in, right, of exercise back to back to back to back to back for 8 straight days. So if you actually think about how you break that up and how you can make it useful for yourself, I mean, like, biology understands that as long as I'm moving, I am creating health.
Right.
We just put a 60-minute stamp on it in the fitness industry because it was something that everybody was doing. So we're like, all right, well, we could monetize that.
Right.
Right. And then when we came up with the idea of 30 minutes, they're like, no, we can't do that. No one's gonna exercise for 30 minutes. They're gonna want 60 minutes. I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
It's because you're the chief financial officer doesn't want to put another code in so that we have to charge and have that code, and it's another thing for them to account for.
That's right.
The only reason why we didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Like, and why not 7 minutes? Why not 1 minute? Why not 30 seconds?
Got it.
Right. So awesome. Great, John. That's it for today's episode of Coach's Corner. Thanks everybody for showing up. We hope we got your questions answered, and keep sending them in. We got a ton of questions still to go through. John, I'll try and tackle, 5 or 6 of them in each of these sessions. So show up every Wednesday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern.